You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
I was just thinking that we were going to be homeless again because we already was homeless before.
It is one of San Francisco's most enduring challenges, the homelessness crisis. And with more money getting thrown at it, why are so many people still living on the streets?
How many people are flowing into the system and how many people are flowing out of it? And the answer was we don't have this data.
Today in our special series, we are breaking down how the city's homeless system flows. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ann Makovic, and there is a new report measuring the city's progress to try to get people off the streets. The good news is that thousands of people are being helped out of homelessness. The bad news is that despite that growing effort, the city is still losing ground. Let's start with the money. Over just the past decade, the city has dramatically increased spending by hundreds of millions of dollars, primarily for more housing units. But during that time, the city's homeless population has remained notoriously stable, climbing a bit in 2024 to more than 8,300 people. Those results, of course, have a lot of people frustrated. Why doesn't all the added money and housing seem to be adding up to real progress? Our Wilson Walker has a series of reports on how the system flows. He begins with the man behind the numbers and the new buzzword when it comes to solving homelessness.
All right. Did you already speak with the hot team? Are you interested in trying to get indoors?
This is a hard concept to wrap your head around. We're putting more people in housing than we ever have before.
Inside, placed in shelter, navigation centers.
It's a smaller place.
But you got a place.
Yeah, got a place, you know what I mean?
We placed this many in shelter. We did this, we did that.
We've helped over 15,000 individuals exit homelessness.
And the public hears all these numbers, and what's missing is a sense of context. Where are we?
For anyone who has ever found themselves lost in the forest that is San Francisco's response to homelessness, you are not alone. Meet Sharky LaGuana,
A different vibe.
member of the San Francisco Homeless Oversight Commission.
When I joined the commission, I told myself, I don't want to get distracted by the trees. I want to stay at the 60,000 foot level and look at how all these systems work with each other or don't work with each other.
So in his role as commission data officer, he started asking the city questions, hoping to understand something that might seem very straightforward.
How many people are flowing into the system and how many people are flowing out of it? And the answer was we don't have this data. It exists in different systems. The systems don't talk to each other.
But after months of pulling numbers from across the city's web of services, he has some preliminary findings and an idea.
I had this concept of a pipe fairly early on.
If our inflow matches our outflow, the system works efficiently. We can provide services to everyone who needs it.
So just imagine a pipe, right? You have water flowing through a pipe.
Using the new numbers and the pipe analogy, he's produced this 9-minute report on how the city's homeless system is flowing, so to speak. There are the people flowing into it.
Well, they say they want to put us in the shelter.
Shelter is one way off the street, but far more desirable is one of the city's permanent supportive housing units.
If it wasn't for this SRO, then, I don't know where I would be.
So if the inflow increases faster than the outflow, the system starts to get crowded fast.
The big takeaway, as you might have guessed, is that more people are flowing in than are flowing out.
Really, we're not going to get anywhere until we address the amount of water flowing into the pipe and try and reduce that. And at the same time, we have to figure out how to increase the amount of water flowing out of the pipe.
And this, he says, might help San Franciscans better understand why all of the additional spending for all of the additional housing leaves the city with an unsheltered homeless population that does not change very much.
It just stays the same. And so, it's natural for people to go, well, what are we spending all this money on? How is this getting any better? And the reality, what's actually happening is our budget's gone up. The number of people becoming homeless has gone up, almost on a one-to-one basis. If you match them up against a graph, the slope of the curve looks almost exactly the same. But the number of people who are unhoused or unsheltered has stayed exactly the same, right? So we're putting more and more people into housing year over year over year. And that works, and it's sustainable as long as budgets continue to increase.
And we keep finding more housing.
But
thanks in part to Sharkey's work, this idea of flow is now a trendy topic in the city's homeless conversation, even getting a mention from the mayor's homelessness chief. But for the new administration, solving this challenge is going to get far more complicated.
Now we're in a place where we've got to figure out how to do more with less, and that's a very challenging position to be in.
$876 million, that is the city's budget deficit over the next 2 years. So system flow in mind, how do you get the most out of those dollars?
Just break down in the middle of the night, trying to figure out where I'm going to let my kids sleep at.
I probably would have been one of the statistics out in the street because
probably the cheapest and most effective answer to a complicated problem. We'll look at slowing the inflow in the next chapter, and then there's the question of how you increase the outflow, something that is becoming increasingly difficult. Much more to come in our series on homelessness flow in the days ahead.
We have posted the San Francisco Homeless Oversight Commission's report on our website, KPIX.com. So that is a look at how the city's homeless safety net is basically filling up. The big increase in the number of people getting housing is not keeping pace with the number of people who need it. Coming up next, we're going to meet some of the people on the verge of homelessness.
Do you know what you would have done had you been evicted from here?
Probably go to a shelter.
Why it is so important and cost effective to keep them off the streets in the first place. That's coming up. Despite a massive increase in spending and thousands more people being placed into housing, the city of San Francisco's homeless population has basically remained unchanged over the years. Today, we are continuing a look at efforts to address homelessness and the idea of flow, essentially how more people are flowing into the system than are flowing out.
Really, we're not going to get anywhere until we address the amount of water flowing into the pipe and try and reduce that. And at the same time, we have to figure out how to increase the amount of water flowing out of the pipe.
We just showed you a new report on how the city's homeless system is basically filling up. The big increase in the number of people getting housing is not keeping pace with the number of people who need it. Now we are going to take a look at the first step of this challenge, and that is how to keep people from coming into the system. Here's Wilson with part 2 of our special series.
And I didn't want to show my kids how I just break down in the middle of the night trying to figure out where I'm going to let my kids sleep at. You know, my daughter goes to school out here.
For Tasha Ioromi, the threat of eviction didn't quite seem real until the letter appeared on her front door.
I was scared when I seen that it had a court date. My daughter's dog.
After spending several months and many of her paychecks helping struggling family members, she was behind on her rent.
I was just thinking that we were going to be homeless again because we already was homeless before.
Do you know what you would have done had you been evicted from here?
Probably go to a shelter. I don't know.
As you can see, I do a lot of artwork, so the lighting and...
Sherry Kozlakowski has lived in her Panhandle apartment since 1998, but she almost lost it during the pandemic when she received a stage 4 cancer diagnosis.
It's incredibly overpowering, and it sort of sent me into a spin, like, you know, how am I going to pay for everything? How am I going to pay my rent? I was always very timely on my rent.
So what would she have done if she had lost her home?
I literally I probably would have been one of the statistics out in the street because
they are the faces often left out of San Francisco's homelessness conversation, people that are not on the street or clearly in a state of crisis, but they are right on the verge of homelessness without some timely help.
I just needed my rent for me to get help getting my back rent paid down.
Plus, I would probably cost the city a lot because I may have even ended up on the street, seriously.
So prevention is, in my view, one of our biggest opportunities. If you can stop somebody from becoming homeless or get to them in that first 30 days, that is some of the cheapest and highest effective money that we spend.
Sharky Laguana, member of the San Francisco Homeless Oversight Commission, says in the right cases, a little money can go a long way. Evidence shows that people who do end up on the street are at much higher risk of developing other challenges, physical and mental health, maybe substance abuse. And the longer people are on the street, the more severe those problems can become.
Now you have to spend enormous amounts of resources taking care of that person when they show up to the ER or they cause problems out on the street. And all of that, think about that daisy chain of events that we have to take care of. All of that could have been stopped if we had invested $500 in keeping them in their apartment right at the critical moment when they were about to lose their home.
You know, people wonder, oh, what is it that I can do to help? Instead of just building affordable housing, which has to, of course, be built, to do all the things that kind of come before that or contribute toward it.
For Sherry and Tasha, help came through the Eviction Defense Collaborative, a nonprofit that partners with the city.
I don't think I can thank them enough. Now that I got that part out the way, I feel better. I feel a lot of weight off of my shoulders.
A weight off of her shoulders and one less family entering homelessness, the kind of solution with upsides for the city and certainly those who suddenly find themselves in need of some help.
Being able to stay in my home and all the people that allowed that and helped that, I'm really grateful to them because that really helped sustain my life. It did. And here I am, I'm still here, you know.
So the challenge for the city is finding out exactly who is the right candidate for that rental assistance and who might need other kinds of help. Coming up next, we are going to meet those already inside city-provided housing and hear why it is such a challenge to flow out of the system.
I was domestic violent homeless. That's how I came to live in the hotels.
Well, today we are taking a look at San Francisco's ever-increasing efforts to try to address homelessness and how they simply have not been keeping pace with the challenge. Earlier, we introduced you to Sharky Laguana. He is the Chief Data Officer for the city's Homeless Oversight Commission. He has been working to try to better understand why more people placed in housing and spending more has not translated into success on the streets.
This understanding of how many people are flowing in and how many people are flowing out, that's critical to understanding where we are.
In the first part of this series, we looked at the idea of system flow and how it might explain what we are seeing on the street. In the second part, we looked at one very cost-effective way to try to improve flow, and that's keeping people from becoming homeless in the first place.
I probably would have been one of the statistics out in the street.
For some, like Sherry Kosliowski, it was a matter of short-term rental assistance while she battled cancer, keeping her in her own home. Now, we're turning our attention to the next part of the flow equation, and that is the people already inside city-provided housing. It's a population that has grown quickly in recent years, but as Wilson shows us now, very few of them are flowing out.
Hey, kitty. Sorry.
Along with her cat named Kid, Susie Melkonian is settling in to her Tenderloin SRO. She has her own bathroom and shower, and she saves space with this.
Like we are at the beach. It comes down like that, and you can put it up to your level how you want it. Ta-da.
The small room, she says, is a blessing.
I was domestic violent homeless. That's how I came to live in the hotels.
And for Susie, this hotel finally provides permanent supportive housing after bouncing all through the city's system.
Been in shelters, safe houses, transitional housing.
Where would you be were it not for this SRO?
If it wasn't for this SRO, then I don't know. I don't know where I would be.
I pushed the city. The city was not using these hotels for permanent housing until we created a modified payment program in 1989. Prior to that, they were just used for temporary housing.
Randy Shaw founded the Tenderloin Housing Clinic back in 1980. And when he started placing people in the city's old hotel stock, they were often very brief tenants.
Yeah, it's changed dramatically. When we started doing homelessness in '89, people I interviewed were all like laid off lumber, warehouse workers. The deindustrialization of the period impacted them, and they wanted jobs. So they were in our hotels for a very brief period. They got a job and they went out. They weren't homeless anymore.
36 years later, the clinic's portfolio of more than 20 properties is a cornerstone of the city's effort to house the homeless, a mission that in the 80s might have meant providing some temporary help.
But that's a very different world than we inhabit now, where the people coming in are far more in need and have addiction issues.
It's a variety of people to themselves, don't want to be bothered with nobody. I've been through enough in life to just leave me alone, right? To very mentally distraught, that really can't control their mental health, cannot control it.
The city has tried to address the mental health and substance abuse challenges inside permanent supportive housing by deploying case managers, but that help simply has not kept up with demand. What is supposed to be a case manager to housing unit ratio of 1 to 25 has often been closer to 1 to 50.
And the city says, well, that's great because we're funding case managers. And we'd say, well, they're not required to use the case management. And often some of the most troubled people don't use case management, which they need the most.
Drugs and mental health, however, are only part of the story. Susie, for example, falls into another category. She, like 50% of the SRO population, is disabled. And all of this brings us back to the idea of flow.
Seniors, people who are severely disabled, chronically ill, severe mental health issues. Not everybody is a candidate for standing on their own 2 feet.
With an older, more troubled population, the challenges inside supportive housing are in a way driving the city's inability to find enough of it. More of those flowing in are not, or simply cannot, flow out.
Right? When we put somebody in permanent supportive housing, it's permanent. It's right there in the name. The challenge, though, is if the average length of stay is 10 years, say, then every 1,000 people you put into the system, you only lose 100 every year on average. Just assume 1,000 people are entering the system every year. And that's how, over the course of 10 years, 1,000 people turns into 10,000 people.
And your cost balloons.
Your cost mushrooms, which is precisely what we've seen.
So it's another way in which the city's successes, putting more people into housing, are being obscured by the fact that more people are becoming homeless, many of them with nowhere else to go.
So I couldn't afford to live anywhere. I wouldn't be able to live anywhere. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad because I'm not the only person like that. There's so many people that are in the same predicament as me.
The Lurie administration has been making changes to how assistance is offered on the street and who is eligible for housing, though it remains to be seen what changes might be coming for those who are already inside. And all of this raises some obvious questions. First of all, who is getting out of permanent supportive housing, and how can we best help those who can stand on their own 2 feet get moving in that direction? Remember, many of these challenges have been developing over generations. And in recent years, the city has vastly expanded supportive housing. So the scale of this challenge has grown immensely, and the city's growing budget problems will only make finding solutions that much more difficult.
So that is a look at the idea of flow, the efforts to keep people from coming into the system and the challenge of getting people out of it. Clearly a lot left to figure out with this issue. Wilson is going to continue to follow all of this, and we will bring you updates on his special series as more comes in. Meantime, thanks for joining us. I'm Ann Makovic. Local news continues on CBS News Bay Area, streaming on the free CBS News app.